Welcome to the Life's Best Medicine podcast, where we are finding hope and healing one episode at a time. No appointment needed, no rubber gloves, and no coping. Just a healthy dose of life lessons to help equip you for this wild journey we call life. Hey everyone, this is a friendly reminder that we are here for entertainment purposes only. We may not even be that entertaining at times, but this is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor, check with your healthcare professionals before making any lifestyle changes or medicine changes. What we're talking about is our clinical experience and what we've seen. And so if you really want our advice, you can consult us. You can actually consult me as a doctor, or you can consult my guest and get all your questions answered. But we can't give free medical advice because we can't pay our bills with that, but we can help to educate you a bit and allow you to think a little bit, and always reach out to your medical professional before making any lifestyle changes. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I want to thank my sponsors again, Keto Mojo and Health Code. They're doing some great stuff, both great companies. Very honored to be sponsored by them, and I'm thankful that they can bring us these great stories. It's February already. That means our New Year's resolutions are now, we're saying, do we really want to keep doing this? How are we going to stay on that track? So both of these companies will help us stay on track. Keto Mojo, of course, being able to check your ketones and glucose levels and make sure your diet is doing what it's supposed to be doing. A lot of people just finished their carnivore month, so it'll be fun to see what their labs look like and what their sugars are doing. And so Keto Mojo, keto-mojo.com, it's a valuable tool. I use them all the time to double check our continuous glucose monitors and to monitor ketone levels. I've been having a lot of fun with some friends lately, experimenting a bit with them and their lifestyle changes. And I do see that Jason Fung is correct. When people do a little bit of an extended fast, their ketones do go up. So it's been great to see that and getting people healthier. And also along that same path, we have our friends from Health Code, Get Health, GETHLTH.com. MetHealth is a discount code that we worked out for our listeners. Get a discount for the best nutrition around. They even have a vegan option and also a 20-year shelf life on their metal cases, vacuum sealed, for those of us who are doomsdayers and worried about the end days. So all you need is a little water in that, and that's all you got. You don't have to eat dehydrated, terrible food that's not even healthy for you. You might as well get some good health and enjoy your time if things go south. So thank you again, both my sponsors, and enjoy this episode.
Hello, and welcome back to the Life's Best Medicine podcast and hopefully LowCarbMD podcast. Maybe we run it on both, but I have three great guests today. Tro Kalayjian, who some of you may have heard of, his wonderful wife, Rosette, and last but not least, my wife, Lanell. We both got a little cold, so my voice is a little shot, but I feel fine. So hopefully I don't get Tro sick via Zoom. I would put a mask on Tro, but
Yeah, it's required in California, so.
Yeah, I think so. So welcome. It's great to have you all on. This is dangerous, but I know the editor, so it's all good.
No, this is fun. It's nice to have you with Lanell.
Before we get started, I just wanted to say it. I think you meet people for a reason, and 5 or 6 years ago when I first started interacting with Brian on Twitter, and he reached out to me. And we set up this not this podcast, but the LowCarbMD podcast. It was a tough time in my own life. I had just lost weight, and I was like, I was so ready, still in my, early 30s at that point, and my brain was not fully developed. And I remember, Brian just pulling me aside at a conference saying, Tro, you need to start thinking differently, and I remember that conversation like it was yesterday, and it's had an impact on my life, actually. And the way that Brian's talked about you, Lanell, I can't even tell you how that's improved my own marriage, and when Brian's like, you need to go look at this, guy online and what he's saying because of, how he talks about marriage, how he talks about his wife. another guest that he had. I think David was one of the guests that, talked about marriage. And so I'm lucky to meet Brian.
Mm.
And
Same here. Same here,
I'm
Tro.
lucky,
You're a revolutionary guy, right? So
no,
it goes both ways for sure.
No, but you don't know. I don't think, Brian, you always know that impact. Like, you don't see it, but like, our marriage has improved so much over the last like 5 years, and being able to see, somebody who puts family first and values first always. Just the other day, me and Brian were talking about, like, how we're gonna work together more, and how we're gonna help other doctors. And we were like considering some people that we could work with. And he just reminded me, like, stick to values, Tro. And I want to say, Lanell, I know that's not easy. It's got to be nurtured. So somebody is nurturing that. And Brian, I just want to say thank you for being that person for me.
No, thank you. That's a great honor. I appreciate that. And I've had great mentors in my life, and that's why I did this podcast. Like, what really matters? Is it how many people listen to our podcast? Is it what really matters ultimately? And going home to your wife and being in love. I mean, there's nothing better.
Yeah. Thank you, Tro, for those words. They
Thank you,
bless.
Brian.
Yeah.
And thank you, Rosette. We can make pizzas now and do
I
good
know.
desserts when friends come over. My wife's a huge fan, so I'm glad to have you
Oh
on.
my goodness.
I love it.
Yeah.
Tro, I'm just glad that you are a real person. I cannot believe after all of these years, we have never met in person, and Rosette, you too. But I thank you, Tro, for partnering with him. I think you're a big blessing in his life too. So he loves partnering with you and working alongside of you. And I'm just going to say something real quick. I don't know if it's my turn or not, but Rosette, Rosette, you are my friend. You don't even know this. I can call you friend because you live in my pantry like every day of my life. You are the absolute star of our family pizza nights. And I'm telling you, I can make the dough. It's easy. And I know what's in the dough, but your dough, the kids, there was one time, I always have packs of your dough in my cupboard, because I can get the kids to come over if they know mom's cooking for free and pizza. So one time I didn't have your dough. I thought I did. So I invited them all over. And when I realized I did not have your dough, I was like, oh, I got to make it myself. So I made it. And they knew. They were like, Mom, what did you change in the dough? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I think, well, go back to the way you used to make it. I was like, oh my gosh. So I always have to have your dough if I want our kids to come over for dinner.
Yeah, no, it was interesting, like developing that one specifically. I didn't realize how great of a reception it would have. I mean, the fact that you started with I can make it is huge because some people like have struggles like just making it look presentable, I guess. But the flavor on that, everyone's like, oh, but we can make it fathead dough. I'm like, but no, this is different.
It's different.
It differently. It crunches the right way. And I'm just happy to hear that your kids are enjoying it, especially if they're not doing the keto low carb. That
you don't even know it's keto low carb.
Oh no.
I sound like I'm doing a commercial for you, but I'm just speaking truth. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And it's a lot of people like it's interesting with social media because you want people to respond and tell you how they like your products and give you feedback, good or bad, so you can work on it. But I found it so hard to get people to like tell me, just reply or like give me a review. So anytime someone says, oh, by the way, I was like, we've been using it for years and we love it. I'm like, oh my God, that's so nice to hear. You know what I mean? Just gives me like a little more fire fuel to like keep going with it. And so that's just awesome to hear, especially because the way we formulated, or I was so picky in how I wanted to create the recipes that I wanted it to taste as true to the original, so that you say like, you can't even tell it's keto.
You can't.
That's the purpose of it all, like so that it just tastes like another cake. Nobody needs to know. It's that you know, it's, I don't know, that's nice. I'm happy to hear that.
We don't, I don't think I've tasted everything. I've tasted most, but you know, it's like all of your products, especially the pistachio ones. The pistachio, you just can't tell. We have friends over that are not, they don't eat in the same lifestyle. We don't tell them, oh, this is low carb pizza dough or low carb pistachio cookies. They don't know anything and they just love it. And I always tell them, I'll tell you the website to go to because it's not my recipe.
No, but
Yeah, I almost had to get a sponsor for the podcast so I could buy more rosettes. I'm
yeah.
like, how much did you buy?
Your
Seriously?
way.
She was saying it to all of our friends for Christmas and everything. It was ridiculous.
That's so nice. Thank you. Thank you. And I think we're gonna see you. I don't know where Lanell's gonna be, but
Yes, I will.
so we're finally gonna get to meet in person,
Yes.
all of
Mhm,
us.
mhm.
I mean, Tro's met Brian, but like, yeah, I can't believe it's like family when he talks about Brian. I'm like, it's been 6 years, whatever it is, and we've never.
Never.
So in May, finally, we get to see each other.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, the low carb cruise. Looking forward to this. It's gonna be fun.
Mhm.
All the other poor people are gonna be stuck with us. Tony
It's
Hampton.
gonna be our first trip away in like 12, 13 years.
Oh, wow.
The kids,
The kids.
like, yeah, without it's gonna be a lot.
Awesome.
Wow.
13 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Rosette, tell us about the journey with Tro. Like when he was really struggling with weight back in the day and like to see the transformation. What happened in your brain watching this?
It's so interesting. Like physically, I didn't realize the transformation because you see him like you see your partner every day. So I realized in maybe increments that like, oh, he was gaining weight, but I never viewed him as like obese, if that makes sense. Because I've been trying to wrap my mind around the two, but physically I didn't realize like that he was obese and he was unhealthy. We just were living our life, you know, residency, med school, young kids, new family. But it was a lot going through residency together, and we would eat at the cafeteria, you know, we would eat out, you know, there's very limited amount of time. And it just that the struggle of like, you know, working, I I don't know, my focus wasn't health. It was always like, are you okay? You know, do you need more sleep? You know, can I, you know, like, I don't know, can I take the kid out so that he doesn't cry for the night for you? But I think the biggest struggle was when he was out of residency, and at that point he already had gained the 150 pounds, and we were having our I just had my second child, and we were moving out, and it the it just it was I don't know how to say it, it was just hard to see him struggle and try to understand his health, try to understand how do I say it was hard. It was hard on the relationship. You know,
I would eat your food.
it was no
I would, you know, no, you could say it. You could say anything. I'm an open book. You could say anything.
it was hard because you know that this person's working hard to succeed and to help others get healthy and take care of others. At the same time, he would eat my food, I would hide it, and he would still find it. And I was sleep deprived with two kids. He was sleep deprived with the two kids and the job, and it was just really hard on a lot of different fronts. And we just survived. It was day by day surviving. And he did the few diets, you know, we did the veg, you know, like the veggie, I don't want to say veggie diet, it wasn't vegetarian, but like we cut out the meats, then we cut out we tried different ways to get him healthy. And I was hoping that, okay, if he lost a little weight, it will help our relationship because then he wouldn't be so cranky all the time. But I mean, we went like this for a good year. And then I think the tipping point was when I did get pregnant with our third. And at the same time, he's like, I'm doing keto, I'm doing low carb. This is the last ditch. Like, I don't know what else to do. And he started researching that. And with the first few weeks of cutting out the sugars and grains, like just I feel mental clarity. Like we started I think we were happy. We would talk, we would connect. We went away for a weekend, I think, with friends. And even though it wasn't weight related,
Yes. So actually,
I feel like I'm babbling, by the way. So I'm sorry. I'm like,
you may not remember. So a year before that is really when I started to, right before I started at Hackensack, first job after being chief resident, I really started to lose a little bit of weight, gain a little momentum. And then,
but it was 2015 that.
Yeah, that was 2014 really, I mean, it's all right, but 2014. And then what happened was I was in that practice. I don't know if you remember.
I remember. It was terrible. It was terrible.
There was one of the doctors in the practice was abusing opioids, asked me to write opioids, for him. The other doctor was doing things that could be considered inappropriate, and I reported both of them to the leadership at the Hackensack, and I was like, I can't be here, right? And like 3 to 6 months in, and then within 2 weeks of me reporting that, I was performing like really well because this area, I've lived there my whole life. They immediately said, we're going to renegotiate your contract, right? And they wanted to pay me less, right? And so I remember telling Ro, like, when, we looked at the contract, said if they initiate a salary decrease or whatever, salary renegotiation, I can leave within 30 days. That day, I sent them an email. I said, I'm leaving in 30 days. And it was like, that was the tipping point. And that was in the winter of 2015.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Winter of 2014. It was the winter of 2014. Yeah, or winter of 2015, something like that. And it was just stress. I mean,
at the beginning of our relationship, it was very stressful with residency. I was in law school. We had 2 young kids. It was very stressful with the hours of the work. So it's funny because we were talking. So when he said he's gonna come out of the hospital setting and start his own practice, I was like, no, please don't, because there it's like set hours. You go in, you come out, you still have notes and stuff to do, but I'm like, to have your own practice, it's a lot to manage. You're managing people, you're managing like just overhead stuff. It was so much that I was like, just please don't do this, And I don't know, Lanell, if it falls on you a little bit, but like as a spouse, it's a family business almost because you want to support. So now you're coming in and you're trying to support and you're trying to be there and patient. And I am so risk averse. I was terrified at that transition, but
because Brian, I don't know if you remember, I had so after that terrible Hackensack job, where I reported 2 doctors, they did nothing. The hospital did nothing about it, by the way. They hid it under the rug, I eventually I went back to the Yale system, and I had a great gig. I was a hospitalist.
I remember you doing the night shift all the time and all that. Yeah.
Shift. That was hard on my body, but it was a really great gig, great pay, like a really, the hospital that I worked at, which is in the Yale system, was really like a place of excellence, but how do you look at like the tray tables filled with like, skim milk and whole wheat bread and bananas, like it just felt fake. And so like, even though I loved my job, I loved it, and I would go back, and I wish I could do, a couple shifts a year just to like experience it, because it was fantastic in the middle of the night being able to help people. There's nobody else. It's just you. It was awesome. It was really great, but it was also fake because I was really helping nobody,
You're putting Band-Aids on and rescue them in the minute, right? And not saying what's going to happen long term. So maybe Lanell, you could jump in, tell them how you tried to kill me every year in January to lose weight.
No, I didn't try to kill you. You were always trying different things. And when someone's always trying different things, they're wanting something different for themselves. And I think, I mean, we met in high school. So I saw his weight fluctuate up and down between wrestling and football. And he was always his happiest when he was the most fit. And so I think just as a young couple and young married couple, we actually always did. We knew, I mean, we did some sort of low carb from very young. It was Atkins, it was some sort, because we knew that worked. But I mean, you struggled, honey, all of your life growing up. So, and it becomes an insecurity, you know. And so it just always broke my heart because it became like his identity, you know. And when you're always thinking, I have struggled with my weight, anything, I mean, there's things people say to you, I would say to him, or our girls would say to him, or somebody would say to him, and his response was like, it was just kind of came out sideways. And I thought, that's an odd response, but it's coming out of somebody that has, you know, an insecurity or feels like, you know, they're not the person they want to be. So I just am grateful that that you found this lifestyle that we now live, because I think you've really kind of your whole persona, your whole who you are, your identity has completely shifted to who I've always seen you as and who you really are. So I'm grateful, very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, and I think that's why Tro and I are passionate about this, because what I was getting at is every January we change and do something different. Like, okay, that's it. We gained weight during the holidays. Now we're gonna, this is before we had Rosette's, right? So January, she's making me green shakes and she's putting orange juice and grape juice with a bunch of vegetables. Now I'm gaining weight. She makes her breakfast, my breakfast, her lunch, my lunch. You know, she weighs 100 whatever pounds, like hardly anything. She loses weight like crazy. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you look great, Lanell." And I'm like, I'm doing the same freaking thing as she is, and I work out 6 days a week. Right. But part of it had to be stress and not sleeping and all these other things we're starting to look at. But you start realizing like it's not working. And I was doing the ADA's recommended diet and I was getting pre-diabetic. And I'm like, what is wrong with this situation? And then luckily I stumbled across Jason Fung, like most of us did. And I'm like, fasting, insulin resistance. What is this? Right. Metabolic health. And then we start seeing it with our patients. Right. And so that was the thing. And Lanell, maybe you could speak to what my life was like in 18 years of standard practice before Tro saved me and got me over to direct primary care.
Well, Tro, I thought it was cute when you called her Ro, because I only know you as Rosette, and I think Ro is adorable. So if I may, when Ro was just explaining how it was the beginning of your career and you were scared to death for him to start his own practice. For me, it actually was the opposite, because he was 18, 19 years into his career of, and I'm not saying, I mean, it's hard to even be negative about where you were at, honey, because what you don't know, you don't know. You were there for 18 years, thinking you were doing what was best. So that's what they're still doing, thinking what they're doing is the best. But I think when you finally said, I'm supposed to leave, I'm supposed to start my own practice, it was a relief, a complete, I mean, I encouraged it. I was saying, thank you, Jesus, because I really felt like the Lord was leading you that way anyways. You would constantly say, hey, I feel like I have peace about it. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to do it. And you were saying that for a good year plus before you took the leap. And then when you said, I think I just resigned from my job today. He calls me like any afternoon. Hi, honey, how are you doing? I'm like, oh, it's been good. And, and he goes, well, and I go, how was your day? Well, I think I just resigned. And I was like, what?
In
And
January of 2020, right when COVID
yeah,
hit.
it was right before, because I was a principal,
Unbelievable.
middle school principal. And so it hit the schools like around March. So in anyone's right mind, you're like, oh really? When March hit and everything hit, and his last day was June 1st at his practice. I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna go with this. We had already started the process. So I was actually very excited. I knew that everything he was already not happy there with the hours and the craziness.
Well, then I had the mold allergy. I had all
Yeah.
kinds of problems in that building. And it was like, Lanell's like, Brian, how many times do you have to be hit over the head? Like, get out.
Yeah.
'Cause I go, look, we're going to take a pay cut. Here's all this stuff that could
I
happen.
didn't care. I was like, okay, we have 6 months to plan accordingly. And I have no problem budgeting. I am very good at that. So I was like, that's fine. We go with less. We've done it before and we know how to do this. And so we just started on that journey, and I knew he could do it. I mean, that wasn't my concern. I know what he's capable of, and when he sets his mind to something, he goes after it. So I wasn't concerned about that. I wasn't concerned about the money. I wasn't concerned about anything except his well-being. And I saw the decline. Sorry, I get emotional about it. I saw what it was doing to him and what it was doing to our family. And just really, he wasn't the person that he was before, mentally, emotionally, everything. He's trying so hard to live this lifestyle and be real in it and be authentic in it. And he was stressing more than anyone I knew. He was sleeping less than anyone I knew. And I knew that he was preaching that as gospel: sleep more, rest more, don't stress. So, and it wasn't that he was being hypocritical, doing it on purpose. It just was something he couldn't help. And so getting him out of that was just, a blessing and a miracle. Yeah.
I mean, we're all human, like I relate to that so much.
I know. And I like listening to your story. I wish I wasn't as scared early on, because I know he's capable. It was I got a little spoiled, I want to say, with the amount of time being at the hospital allowed him to like give the family. So he was able to be with the family a lot more, and there was like a lightness about him. So when he was telling us he's gonna, leave that and start all this, I wish I would have been able to have that feeling, like, oh, like it's his passion. It's, he could help more people. He's gonna be great. Like I wish I had that lightness about it, and maybe it would have been less stressful, like between both of us.
It's been stress. I mean, I gotta. It's not stress.
No, not
when
bad.
like
It's time.
Brian knows, like I'm chronically late, right? But imagine what it takes to be chronically late. Like I am pulled in 17 directions, and part of it is my own fault.
Your own ambition.
It's because I
Yeah.
love what I'm doing.
And it's always like, let's do more, let's do this, let's add this. I'm like,
Right?
"Oh,
I love what we do.
yeah, yeah.
And I know I am on the right path. So it's like, if you give me 40 hours in a day, I would work 30 of them.
More.
I would exercise 2 hours. I'd
Yeah,
spend
I
an
think
hour with my wife,
Yeah,
and
and
I
I
would
think
work
that's
30.
the point. Is it's not like we work less hours necessarily, but we have
Yeah.
flexibility in that schedule, in that we can say, like, my wife and I have coffee every morning together every morning now, right? And then we can talk, and not like I gotta go, I'm late, I'm gonna hit traffic, I gotta drive across
Yeah.
town. I got someone in emergency in the hospital right now. I got to take off. And it was like always like that. I'd be with my kids and I get paged. Oh, we're playing a game. Oh, I got to go to the hospital. I'll see it. Right. That's horrible. It's hard life. That's why I feel for the doctors. And that's why I have some compassion for them. But, I think it's one of those, at some point you go, I got to pull the trigger. Like I was literally killing myself doing that stuff because you have no time. It's like, okay, do I want to hang out with my wife? Do I want to work out? Like you have an hour free. What are you going to do? You have to make life choices.
Yeah, you just work out this morning.
And Rosette, our circumstances were different. You had a husband that had some free time. You enjoyed the time you got to spend. So our circumstances were different because I had a husband that was gone 18 hours of the day. He was gone before anyone woke up, including myself. And when he got home, he was so exhausted that he could barely eat and pretty much go to bed. So our circumstances were different. I was grateful thinking, he's going to have more flexibility, doing his own, his own thing.
Yeah.
So.
And I was realizing if we wanted to impact people like Tro, the first time I went to Boca Raton, I'm there and this lady came up and started talking to me and she goes, "You saved my life." And I'm like, "Never met you before." Because your podcast, you and Tro. I go on my tractor and I started eating healthy and I lost 50 pounds off all my meds. I'm like, man, we could reach way more people than spending, 10 minutes with each person in the exam room. And that's why doing what we do now with the app, with the Zoom meetings, like we could sit there and 50 people could come on and we could talk at the same time and we could all help each other and building that community. And so we've seen what works and what doesn't work. And that's what's awesome about us working together.
Yeah, the other thing is when you have part of it is we run ourselves independently, right? And I think that's key, right? Everybody's got to run. Like when you were at that practice, there was like 6 partners. It's like, no, you decide your time, you decide your stuff, right? Like, how can we keep doctors as autonomous as possible and yet at the same time fight a little bit of what's going on, which is Noom slinging medications, Lifetime gyms slinging medications, Weight Watchers slinging medications, this corporate medicine that's eating up doctors' souls, the insurance-based, like there is no, we're kind of lucky, Brian, because we hit this time period where we're free, we're out of the matrix, right? Like we're truly out of the matrix. But I really fear, like my youngest son wants to become a doctor. He wrote it on his thing, right? He spelled it wrong, but he's like, I want to become a doctor. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way by the time he gets there, our profession is done.
Either it's done or we burn it down and restart, right? I think that's what's happening. I think that's what you're a part of. You had people who stood up and did the right thing, even though it was stressful and gave us more gray hairs. But the right thing. You want to do the right thing. You don't want to harm your patients. We want to do the right thing. And I think so many people want the easy way out. I called it the day it happened. I go, why are all these guys attacking Jason Fung, saying metabolic health doesn't matter on the same day? And all those guys are slinging drugs now. There's no doubt in my mind they were paid by pharma. There's no doubt in my mind, right? You don't just attack someone I don't just go out and attack people. Like have 6 of my friends say, Tro, let's all gang up on this guy for no reason. He hasn't done anything wrong. And they go, so you start looking and if medicine's like that and you can't speak the truth, right? Tro, on our podcast, certain words, if we said it, we get blackballed, right? One word, you're gone. And so you go, wow, you can't question authority anymore. You start realizing, gosh, medicine's got some serious problems and we're seeing an epidemic of obesity, epidemic of diabetes, heart attack, stroke, you name it, cancers. And everyone says, well, let's just keep doing the same thing. Let's not question it. It's amazing.
I think that's like, I was reading through the British Medical Journal and David Unwin wrote an editorial. David Unwin's him, he's the gentle, who I should be.
Everyone loves him. Yeah, everyone loves him.
And he said we have to show people systematically what we're doing. And that's another reason why I'm like so hell bent. Brian's like, Tro, why are you trying to take over the world? like we've built some tools to analyze data. Like, and not everybody has to do what we've done, Brian, which is like go reach people, do podcasts, go do lectures, go do, go make an app, go make, like not everybody has to do this. Like we not that it's a cross. I'm not saying that, but we're not bearing a cross, but like we can help other doctors. They don't even have those basic little things.
I think you have the benefit of doing this at a younger age than I did, right? So, you look at it and you go, at that time, there's no way in heck I could have done it. I had $400,000 worth of med school loans, right? And if I'm in a big system, you think I'm going to speak out? I can't. These young doctors are stuck. They're handcuffed because you say the wrong thing and you're gone. Just like you go, hey, there's partners here that are taking drugs. And you get in trouble because they protect their own. And that's the problem is people aren't doing the right thing anymore. They're just protecting their butt, basically. So, you and I have had so many doctors who I previously respected reach out to me behind the scenes, go, you're totally right on this, but I'm not saying anything because I can't, and so it's hard, especially when those same doctors attack you, when they've told you that they agree with you. Publicly, they attack you. Privately, they agree. And it's self-preservation. And doctors are risk adverse, right? We don't want risk. So me leaving my practice, I go, look, I'm going to make enough money, but I can't spend it. I can't spend it. I have financial security for the first time in my life, but it wasn't what I wanted. And every night I would come home and Lanell would say, how was your day? And I was like, brutal. Like every day she was like, why are you doing this? I go, brutal. I got yelled at by 4 people because, the HMO doesn't have enough specialists for them to get in. They're yelling at me. I was like, what do you want me to do? You can't see the cardiologist. You can't see the oncologist. Not my problem. I did the referral the second I saw you in front of you. So things like that were so frustrating when you see the system breaking and you're seeing sick people coming in every day and you're trying to manage it and you're trying to just get them in and out as quick as you can.
I think that was one of the hard things for me because I can remember really it was back in high school on one of the times that you and I were having a conversation, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I just remember you saying, I want to do something that I think at that time it was sports medicine or whatever. You wanted to do something to help people. Your heart is to, and that's always been your heart. That's the person I met to 20, I don't even 30 something years later now, 36 or something, 37. That is who you are. And I think that was one of the hardest things when you were at your other practice. Your heart's desire on a daily basis was to go in and to change lives, to help people. And you weren't, with your short ability of like 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it was to see a patient, it was not serving you well. Like you'd come home and that's why you had a horrible day because in your mind, I don't think I helped one person and I think I saw 18 patients today. And you'd go to Guatemala because that is what, or even more than Guatemala, all kinds of missions trips, because that's your heart to serve and to change people's lives, to help them make their lives better. And you would be on cloud 9 to watch you in Guatemala. When I went, it was just like, this is the husband, the side of my husband. That's who he is. And then you'd go back and I didn't see you for days because you had so many things that you had to do to make up time for the 10 days you were gone. And then you were back to, the fast pace. And so I think now these years later, 3 years, have you been in? Yeah, 3 years, 4 years almost. You've been in practice alone. I mean, I see that, Brian, every day. Like that is that because you're serving your purpose. I think if we're all doing something that we believe in and we are serving our purpose in life, it fills us up. It's who we were created to be. And so I see you every day feeling fulfilled. And because of that, it just blesses me. And how could I not support that? 150%. So I love I mean, I love when you get off work, or even sometimes when we're in Arizona and you're seeing patients from your office, and you have a break. It's like, I love seeing you completely fulfilled. And it comes out in so many ways, you know, your kindness even towards me, or you being super intentional because you are filled up. And when we're filled up, then we have so much more we can offer, you know, your wife, your kids, your friends.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing I had to look at. Like, this is what I was counseling Tro on. Is like, okay, we always say we go into medicine not for the money, but just to help people. But sooner or later, it becomes about the money because you got to survive and you got to pay off your loans, and you realize that in the back of your head. So then they go, now you're gonna see 10 more patients to make that same amount of money. Now you're gonna see 20 more patients. Now you're gonna do this. Now you're gonna work nights. Now, like, wait a minute, this is crazy. We become a factory. Efficiency. I spent years trying to be more efficient. Now I can sit here for an hour and know everything about that patient, right? I know them and I know their motivation, their struggles. And that's what's amazing about you, Tro, too, is that you're looking at all these things that I never even looked at. You know, you're talking to people about how much pornography they watch, right? Things like that, that in 18 years of practice, I never thought about it because it's all addiction, right? Gambling, all this stuff.
I had a patient just recently, you know, I'm talking to him because I'm noticing binging behavior, and I'm like, well, is there any other sort of behavior? You know, do you watch pornography? Do you gamble? Do you, you know, he's like, oh my God, when I speed, it's the dumbest thing. I go 110 miles per hour, you know, and this is a, you know, brilliant investor. I mean, this guy is, but he's on that sort of dopamine train, right? And if you don't ask, do you have unprotected sex? Do you have, you know, are you have multiple partners? Do you have, if you don't ask, you're not going to figure it out. You're not going to figure out that story.
And when you have 8 minutes, you're not going to ask because you don't want to know. And that's what happens too. A lot of doctors now in the system are like, no, I don't ask about stress in life. Why not? Because I don't have time to talk about it. I got 8 minutes.
How do you even
take care of someone?
You know, like, okay, yeah, I got a problem with pornography, or yes, I have a problem with alcohol, or yes, I have a problem. You know, I go 130 miles per hour. You know, what is a doctor supposed to do with that? Right? If you have 8 minutes, like, that's not an 8-minute conversation. You know, it's like, hey, we need to talk about what's going on in your life because you're doing something you know is not going to serve you.
Yeah, and it's just amazing, you know, even Lanell and I talk about it. It's like crazy because I wrote in my journal, I want to have a practice where I can do a Zoom meeting with 50 people at one time, right? And I want to be able to go on hikes with my patients and just talk about life and what matters. Like, it's amazing we're doing those things now. You know, that those things were a fantasy. Like, in the standard system at Kaiser, you're not going to be doing this. You can't, right? You got 2,500 patients or 3,000 patients. So yeah, it's that, you know, I saw medicine was losing that personal touch. They're like, here's your number, go sit down, we'll call you. Hour later, doctor's waiting. Well, where's the doctor? Leave us alone, we'll get to you. You know what I mean? Inhumane.
Yeah, we have to bring back, I think, some of the humanity, community. I mean, we got to bring it back, you know. And I fear. I mean, you see, you know, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this. You know, 80% of docs accepted, you know, an experimental sort of option with limited data, right? So those people, right? Those like 80% are captured. They're captured.
I think that's generous.
Right? 80% are captured. And 90, so the overwhelming majority of doctors right now, especially new doctors, are employed by hospital system, venture capital, right? Or an insurance company. 90%. Less than 10% are going into private practice. So, you know, how do we give the opportunity to others that we had, right? You know, that is on my soul right now.
Well, and these are things we're talking about. We're saying, hey, how do I help that young doc who just got out of practice? You know, you've helped so many, Tro, of getting established and saying, okay, look, we could get you patients. Like, you're in Idaho and you need patients. We can help you with that because we can't take care of the whole world. So it's nice that we don't have that competition, that we can say, look, let's offer a platform that we could all be on. And if I speak on Wednesday, You speak on Tuesday, someone else does it next Wednesday. We all get to help people, and we're doing our calling without working 24/7 all the time.
And I think a lot of it even starts earlier. Like you're a middle school teacher, right? Like I think it like as you're in the education system, you're just learning, and eventually it's like, okay, you learn. Now what are you going to do when you grow up? Oh, you do the specialty, and then you learn and you learn, and then you go into your profession, and then you work. Like I don't think there is that guidance in the education system to be like, oh, there are alternative paths, there's other ways to think, let's question this, like let's give a healthy back and forth, like I don't think kids are I don't want to say trained, but taught to just think outside the box anymore. And so why is there 80% following this way? It's because they just they went through school, they got their degree, they got their job, and now they're just working, I don't think they even know that there's more to think about, or there's more to, process. I think that's part of.
Well, and plus there's perverse
Mhm.
incentives, right? That's what I saw. It's like, wait a minute, the sicker my patient is, the more I get paid. Not anymore.
That's true.
The
Yeah.
healthier the patient is, the more I get paid, right? Because I see them less frequently because they're not a disaster every time I see them. Then we can talk about the grandkids and what's going on in life and what they're doing for fun, right? I enjoy that part of it. It's not like, oh my gosh, you have high blood pressure, we got to get a new pill. Oh, your sugars are high. Let's put you on more insulin. Let's do this. So it's a medication adjustment program, right? You just go up on the meds and go up on the meds, and it's a chronic progressive disease. Once you get diabetes, you can never come off. But once I saw people coming off insulin, I go, they can come off insulin. These crazy chiropractor and naturopaths weren't crazy. You actually can, right? With lifestyle change, but it takes time. That takes time with the patient.
And effort and insight and a non-perverse structure. You can't serve two masters. Like you cannot do it. You can't be, you cannot be money oriented and, like create a system that values, like it's very difficult to create a system that values money first, right? And human second, right? It's very difficult. Right?
Yeah, that was my situation. Is I was working so many hours and making so much money, not because I wanted to make more money. It's because my patients were in need. So if someone calls with a headache or they have chest pain, I can't say, well, you know what? I'm taking the half a day off. Go somewhere else. Like I'm their doctor and I've got to take care of them. So when you have 3,000 patients versus 300 patients, it makes a huge difference in how available you are. You can't do annual exams on 3,000 patients, right? That's your entire, that's everything you do then. So then you have to rush through. And that's what I mean. Things are missed. It's not good medicine. It's not healthy. So when you have doctors overwhelmed, they can't be good doctors no matter how smart they are, and I think that's what we're up against. So if we can help doctors out of the system where they can make a healthy living, go home at night and be well adjusted and enjoy life and work out and take care of themselves. They're not so nasty on social media.
And from a patient's perspective, they like to, I'm like, I covered that up. From a patient's perspective, I think they like to come in and see you guys and be able to talk and just like it's almost like a therapy session, like they feel heard. They could slowly think about their ailments or situations, and like you want to go to and see your doctor and feel like a friend almost, where then you can trust them and you can take their input and advice and actually implement it. But if you're going to anybody like a regular physician, and when I say regular, I mean like not not like your system, like you're in, you're out, and then I'm like, but I don't know if I'm going to follow what they said because I don't even think they know what I said or what I'm feeling, and then things get lost and things get worse, and it just becomes a big mess. So from a patient perspective, have you guys giving us time to talk to us and get to know us and ask questions, that trust builds, and then I feel like I can, like take care of myself and I can follow the plan. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's something I think Tro and I have. It's like it's not about judgment, really. It's like most of my new patients, I'll say, why are you here? And they go, I was tired of arguing with my old doctor. I would bring in, or I want a certain test done. They said, no, we're not doing it because they don't understand what the test means. Fasting insulin being one of them, or a coronary calcium score. So you go, gosh, you don't listen to your patients, because the more tests they order, the less they get paid, their bonus goes away, and it's become public knowledge that a lot of doctors, if they didn't get enough people vaccinated, they want to get their bonus, 150, $200 a patient. So if you don't get 80% of your people vaccinated, you don't get your bonus. So these people become the enemy, because if they're not listening, then you lose $80,000. It's not worth it, right? So they fired these patients, and those guys come to me and Tro. I'm like, come on in. I'm not judging you.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, we're not
Oh, go
paid.
ahead.
I am at their service. Like, I'm at your service,
Mhm.
And
Yeah, we have to discuss risk and benefit. Here's why there's risk, there's benefit, right? And so that's our job, is to assess that and
Yeah.
say, how much risk are you in compared to the general population, things like that, right?
So Brian and Tro, I want to just encourage you both that because you don't have bonuses you have to chase after, you don't have, you're doing your own thing, you're authentic and you're honest, and your whole goal is to have relationship with the patient, understand what's going on, and serve them and what's best for them. You are giving the world, all of your patients that are lucky enough and blessed enough to come to you, a gift that they don't get out there with any doctor that's in the system. So, and then to speak kind of to something you said, Tro, a while back, just how do we capture the doctors and bring them in, and get them out of the system so that we can train more doctors to do this. You are by doing what you're doing in your own practice, by doing this podcast, by getting the information out there. I know for a fact, and so do you, because Brian shares with me some of the comments that people say to him. I don't know, on Twitter or whatever, wherever he gets these comments, but saying, thank you, because I can relate. These are the things that I'm feeling. I just don't have the courage yet or the ability to leave what I'm doing, but the information is getting out there, and you guys are part of that. There's a lot of you guys that are getting information out there, but both of you are two of the people that are speaking out and educating and equipping. And there's no way these doctors in the system would hear what they're hearing if it wasn't for people like you speaking it. And so you are, to your patient, you're a gift, and to all the doctors out there that are listening and are hearing you and are understanding and getting information they would never get. It's just, they have to have the courage. It has to be the right time, because it took Brian it took Brian a while to jump off the cliff, per se, and just go for it. He knew, so I just want to encourage you guys. You are doing that. That 90% that you spoke of earlier is you're going to see it get smaller and smaller. Unfortunately, you come against pharma and all of that, but there's no question about it that you guys you're doing everything you can. You're making a difference, and so just keep on keeping on, because you're being heard.
I got a great support system.
Yeah,
I think that's a
We're-
huge thing.
we're
It's the
blessed.
family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got a
absolutely.
great support system.
Yeah. It makes a difference when your spouse is all in. And how could we not? I mean, we see the good consequence that has come, the benefits that has come from this lifestyle, and seeing our husbands live.
Even though I'm just like thinking about our marriage a little bit, even though I'd say, compared to sort of that hospitalist job, I have less time with you. Like, I feel more connected to you
Yes.
now than we've ever been previously.
Yeah.
It
was a lot.
So we've been married almost
14 years.
14 is going to be 15 years.
No, we're 14 this year, but it's just been a lot, because like I said, the schooling, and then the new job, and the young kids, and it was just, and then it was just a lot all at once. It was a lot all at once.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely, it's nice. I wish I was more supportive. Like you just said, like I wish I was more supportive in the beginning.
We were
It was
both
just,
scared and
yeah,
young.
it was just
You
overwhelmed.
know, we were both scared and young, and I don't think the male mind develops until
60 or 70 probably.
it's still developing.
But then even like, his entrepreneurial mind, he's like, yeah, when I was coming up with these recipes and stuff, he's like, oh, make a company, like, why don't you just like offer it to people? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how do you do that? Like in my mind, it's like, he's like, yeah, it's so easy. Let's, like, and the ideas come easily, and then the implement, but it's, it's.
Here's the thing: we have to
Knock on wood.
like, we have to
Good
do
place.
things. We have to do things like we have to like push. I'm so I'm so like bent. Like we need to. I'm such a believer in what we do, Brian, that we need to make it even easier. We need to make it even easier for people. And you and I, we could see max 500,000 patients maximum, right? Maximum. So how do we take all of our work and then pass this on and pass it on and pass it on again?
Well, we realize enough that we have to have health educators. We have to have someone just saying, "Hey, I'm taking a look at your CGM today. Your sugars went up last night. What happened?" Those kind of things, just that you care. And I think that's it. When people know you care, and also we've self-selected for patients who really care about their health. Because a lot of people go, "I'll just go to the HMO and get my drugs." Like I've had people come in and go, "I just want this drug," and I'm like, "You're in the wrong place. I can't help you that way." Right? That's not the best option for you in the long run. I can't do it. And so, when you see that, and it shocks people sometimes, but, like you're paying me for my expertise, right? And my time and my availability. And so that's it. I started seeing that as we were cogs in the wheel. It's like, hey, Tro works all those hours, has a stroke, and they go, okay, let's bring in the next young doc and take his spot and we'll pay him less, right? That's what's happening in the standard practice. That's why doctors are burning out. They know they're just a cog in the wheel. And if they, rock the system at all, they're gone. And now you got to find a job. Now you're stressed out, and all those kind of things. You move to a state where you can afford to live for a while and pay off your loans. It's a tough one, man. People don't realize we're hard on doctors, but I have such compassion. But I don't have patience for people who are that they're misguided and they're hurting patients, right? And then they attack you, and you're like, well, you're wrong. Sorry, you're wrong, because we're seeing it. You have the clinical data now, and that's the other thing.
Alcohol use, like you posted today, like your yesterday, the alcohol use. Like, how does fixing the diet make people want alcohol less and make those dopamine centers? We
talked about in episode 10 and episode 13. Rob Sivas convinced me back there in episode 10 and 13. We had such an outcry from episode 10, episode 13. We talked about that. Pornography, drugs, alcohol, that it gets better when you stabilize and you get the stress level better. So people say they're stress eaters. Well, once we get the stress better, do you stress eat less then? Of course. Right. And if you're eating right, you get less stressed, and you sleep and you get less stressed. So you start looking at like, what are my triggers? How do we fix that? And that's why I think we're embarking on such a great pathway now, because we can fix one variable at a time and see what the effect is. Because there's people eating a ketogenic diet, they say it doesn't work. Yeah, you're stressed out. You fight with your wife every day. You don't sleep. You know what I mean? You're miserable. You're drinking a gallon of vodka every night. It just doesn't work. It's just like Sabine Hazy, we were talking, she goes, people want to drink a gallon of vodka at night, then take probiotics in the morning and think they're going to be healthy. It doesn't work that way. Right.
Yeah, we're all blessed. We are blessed.
Okay, let's count our blessings now, Tro. Since you were late, I don't have time. But
okay. All right. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to hang out with you guys on the cruise.
It's gonna be great. Ben Vickman's gonna get corrupted by us, Tro. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'd love to see Arizona. I'm inviting ourselves.
Oh yeah.
To Arizona.
Oh yeah.
We got a guest
We're
room.
gonna show up in Arizona one day.
You'll stress out, Tro.
We will bring out pizza. We'll bring you a little.
Yeah. No, I'll make you pizza.
I'll send you a bundle.
You'll stress out. Tro can't handle it in Arizona. There's mountains and streams and like birds and animals. It'll be so quiet. Tro will be like,
okay.
Are you kidding?
No, I love it.
He thrives in quiet. Like he hates Manhattan. Like I thrive in Manhattan. He's like too much noise, too much people.
Yeah, me too, man. Get me in the country. Get me away from people if I can.
Okay,
So-
so the cruise is going to be your first time being away from the kids. Arizona, Prescott is going to be your second. Okay.
That's good.
It's
All
a
right.
date.
And
There
I
you go.
hope, Brian, before we finish, we get to at least say what is
Yeah,
life's
life's
best
best medicine.
medicine.
That's I have to do that on the podcast. So we'll let Rosette go first, and we'll give Tro
Oh,
time,
Oh,
and I'll let you go last, even though it's dangerous for me.
tell
So
me about-
Rosette, what's life's best medicine? When you and Tro were going through the hard time, what kept you going? What motivates you now to do your company, and what
oh,
gets you up and what gets you motivated in life?
I mean, is it very cheesy if I say literally my kids? Like
No,
my
that's great.
medicine is my kids. Like I love to take care of them, to see them grow, to see the way that they think, and they're just hugs and kisses like feed my soul. So I mean, I love you too. There's no question, but like the kids give me this power and fuel that just it's my life's first medicine.
mm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have so many things. I mean, I just like so many things flash before my head, exactly the same thing. Family. I thought about God. I pray to God every day. I thought about, the gym has been so critical for me personally, just releasing stress and sort of moving my body. Like nutrition is a given, uh, good quality nutrition, taking away sort of the daily poisons that we've learned to accept in our lives. I don't know, so many things. We're just all, can I put them all in a pill? And that's life's best
Yeah,
medicine.
that's what we need, man.
So
Yeah.
yeah, all of them, all of those, Yeah, do I have to pick one? Because I can't.
No, there's so many. I know. That's it. Like counting your blessings and enjoying it. How about you, Leno?
Um, I I think for me, just the relationships in my life, um, I think we were born and created to be in relationships. And when we are too busy to be engaged and be connected, then we naturally are isolated. And so I think for me, just being intentional to be engaged and connected with you, honey, but just with the kids, with my parents, it just makes me a better wife, daughter, mother, friend, and it feeds my soul. And getting outside every single day and breathing in God's beautiful creation, getting my vitamin D every day. That's something I'm intentional about. And let's see, not taking myself so seriously. You've been good to show me that, honey, because I'm very, very like kind of type A, and I get all flustered if things don't go as planned. And so you've helped me with that. Just don't take myself so seriously. I think at the end of the day, at the end of my life, the question I know this sounds a little weird maybe, but honestly, with almost every decision I make on a daily basis, I think about the legacy that I am leaving behind, especially for our kids. So I do kind of like you, Rosette. Everything kind of that I do, decisions I make, are the the thought behind it is what am I teaching them? What am I showing them? What legacy? What are they going to say about me when I'm gone? And the decisions I make kind of are motivated by that. It kind of helps me stay accountable. Yeah, to do the right thing. So
Yeah. And obviously, Leno, the influence you've had on my life and the stabilizing force and saying, hey, get out, 100% support all the way, everything I've done. That you're the critical thinker more so than I'm the emotional going, okay, let's just do it. It'll happen. I'll make it happen. And you're like, wait a minute, we got to look at these numbers and we got to make sure this is all right. And kind of, don't just jump and buy a place or whatever. So yeah, we balance each other. And obviously I wasn't a person of faith until I met you, and that's been the huge impact in our marriage and life and kids and everything. So, and I think having the faith to step out and go, okay, I'm doing this thing, right? Okay, God, you're on my side. we'll make it happen. Even with Tro, we can make it happen. I'll put it that way. So God's powerful.
Like that.
No, but I'm excited, Tro, about the future of us working together and doing things and helping a bunch of people and, helping doctors out of the system and, helping others so they can say their lives got better because of us. That's a huge deal.
Mhm.
I think we need to, Brian. I know you have a PA. I know she was on your podcast very recently. I had my Mary, our PA on our podcast, and we're at the point where I think we're ready to help other doctors. We are there. We're there.
And health coaches and NPs and all these things and physical
Bingo.
therapists, whoever we can. We have to
Yes.
build a team of people that are like-minded that we can help people and make an impact.
And I was thinking about it the other day, like just talking with you about it, you reminding me to put values first. I cannot tell you how valuable that is for me. I grew up, my parents were CPAs that, they've put in me this entrepreneurial spirit. And, I'm certainly values-based, I'm certainly faith-based, but it's great to be in this team that sort of balances each other and elevates each other in a positive way.
Mhm.
And that's valuable to me. It's valuable to me. It's been like your mentorship has been immensely valuable to me.
Mm.
And all those people said we were fighting all the time. Remember when we first started the podcast? They go, "You guys pick on each other. You don't like each other." I think we get along pretty well.
I think
We're just guys.
I think we just are fine busting each other's chops a little bit. That's
Yeah, it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be fun, but the love's there, and the mutual respect is there. We have different temperaments maybe, but I think when we both see that we're both united to help people, and that's when we bring in people, we want people who share those values. That's what matters. If you're there to make a buck and whatever, then you're probably not the right person, right? And so I think that's what I've learned over life is that your integrity matters ultimately. Like that's what people are going to talk about. And a friend of mine's a pastor, and he said, we were sitting there talking one day. He goes, "Brian, it's all about the potato salad." I was like, "What are you talking about, potato salad?" He goes, "I do a lot of funerals." And he goes, "They go and they do the service and then they go back to Aunt Betty's house. And for some reason, there's always potato salad. And then people will sit there and eat their potato salad and say, 'Hey, that one day when I was hurting, he helped me.' Or, he had all the potential in the world, but he decided to take drugs. What a shame." It's like, that's what matters. Like the legacy, like what Lanell's talking about. You want people to go, "Man, I was hurting and he came in that day." Like when you say that, like, that conversation we had, could have fallen on deaf ears, or you could say, "Well, let me assess what you're saying." And I think that's why our podcast and what we do is so valuable, because not everyone has to agree with us and we don't have to agree with them, but we can hear them out and go, "Okay, I'll take this from you. You take this from me," and we go on and we're happy and we're friends, right? We don't have to agree on every issue. And I think that's, as friends, that's kind of where life is. We're all going to have different religious views or views on whatever, but it cuts down to the integrity and caring about other people, and you do fine. People know when you care or if you're just there to go through the motions, right? So you guys are all life's best medicine for me. Now I got to go see my patient so I could pay my bills and, get back to Arizona. So, hey, blessings. Thank you all for joining me. This is awesome. Awesome stuff. Troy, do you have a last word of wisdom for people on the way out?
No, I think we've said it all. I don't, the importance of, aligning those, I'm an accountant's son at the end of the day, and aligning the financial goals with the values is so critical, right?
Yeah.
That's how you make it work. That's why we work right now. We've aligned our financial goals with our values. And I think, that's what I'm thinking about next. How do we align the financial goals with my value, which is I need to save 10 other docs, 20 other docs.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that requires a lot. Like I feel like I'm juggling a lot, and having your friendship and mentorship has been a blessing. I can't say it enough.
Yeah, it goes both ways. And so everyone listening, this is gold. Sorry about my voice today. I was so excited to see everyone that I couldn't sleep, I guess. But be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Find your passion in life. if you're miserable right now, figure it out. Figure out what variables you have to change. Do you have to cut back on your drinking? Do you have to get out of that job? Do you have to change your friends? Whatever it is, and make those changes and step out and make an impact. So hopefully we'll do a follow-up in a couple of years and see where we're at. And
during the cruise, or I don't know.
Yeah, we'll follow up anyways. And then when we get you to Arizona to go mountain biking, that would be fun. You have life insurance on them, right, Ro?
We're working on it.
All right, good. Make sure. I'll take him on a great hike.
Yeah. On the rattlesnakes, right?
Yeah.
Nice meeting you officially. I'll see you in
Yes.
May. I look forward to
Thank you
it.
so much, Brian, for setting this up. And
Oh, thanks for joining me. It's awesome.
have a great day, guys.
Bye, you guys.
too.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We greatly appreciate your support. We would greatly appreciate a positive thumbs up on all of the platforms like iTunes and Spotify or wherever you're listening. And we just thank you for our Patreon supporters. We greatly appreciate your help in getting this message out. We think there's a lot of important information. And hopefully this helps you. Have a great day, and thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.